The world of gospel music, people often expect peace, love, and unity. These artists are seen as role models, carrying messages of hope and faith. But sometimes, even in this sacred space, misunderstandings can create waves that no one ever imagined. Recently, fans were left completely shocked when two big names, Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds, suddenly found themselves caught in the middle of a feud. What started as a simple moment, something most people might have overlooked, quickly grew into a storm of debates, accusations, and heated responses. People began asking, how could someone as respected as Juanita and someone as admired as Jonathan be at odds with each other? The entire gospel community felt the tension, and fans couldn't believe what they were seeing unfold. This story isn't just about words being exchanged. It's about the clash of generations, the weight of respect, and the struggle between traditional voices and modern ones. And when Juanita finally decided to respond, her words set the internet on fire, leaving gospel fans divided like never before. To understand why this moment shook the gospel world so deeply, we have to first look at who Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds really are, and what they represent. Juanita Bynum has been a powerful voice in both ministry and gospel music for decades. She is not only a singer, but also a preacher, an author, and a figure of authority in the Christian community. Known for her fiery sermons and no-nonsense attitude, Juanita has built a reputation as someone who never holds back when it comes to speaking the truth. Her followers see her as a spiritual mother, a leader who paved the way for many who came after her. For years, her influence has shaped gospel culture, making her one of the most respected figures in the field. On the other hand, Jonathan McReynolds represents a very different side of gospel. He comes from a younger generation, bringing a fresh, soulful, and contemporary style that has connected deeply with modern audiences. His music is heartfelt, emotional, and often very relatable to young believers. People admire Jonathan for his humility and calm personality, which sets him apart in a world that can sometimes be filled with loud voices and strong opinions. To many, he is the future of gospel, carrying the message of faith in a way that speaks directly to today's world. Both of them, in their own ways, have made an impact that cannot be ignored. But with their strong identities and influence, it was almost inevitable that if a misunderstanding ever happened, it would turn into something much bigger than just a casual comment. This is why, when whispers of a disagreement began, fans were immediately on edge. The tension began with what seemed like a simple comment. Jonathan McReynolds was speaking during an interview where he was asked about the state of gospel music today. In his usual calm and thoughtful way, Jonathan talked about how the new generation of gospel singers needed more freedom to express themselves, without always being compared to the older voices. He mentioned that sometimes traditional leaders in the church hold too tightly to the past, making it difficult for new talent to grow. It was not an angry statement. It wasn't even directed at anyone by name. But the way Jonathan spoke made many listeners feel that he was pointing toward the older generation of gospel leaders, people like Juanita Bynum. Almost instantly, clips of that interview began spreading online. Fans started discussing and speculating, saying that Jonathan's words were not just general comments, but subtle criticism aimed directly at Juanita. Social media quickly turned into a battlefield. Some people defended Jonathan, saying he was simply being honest about the challenges young artists face. Others, however, felt it was a sign of disrespect toward those who had worked hard to build the platform he now stands on. The more people debated, the more Juanita's name began to get pulled into the conversation, even though she hadn't said a single word yet. What could have been just another passing comment was now turning into a storm. And as the chatter grew louder, everyone was waiting for one thing: Juanita Bynum's response. For days, Juanita Bynum stayed quiet while the internet buzzed with opinions and arguments. But anyone who knows Juanita knows that silence has never been her style. When she finally decided to address the situation, she did it in the way only she could, boldly, passionately, and without holding back. During the livestream, Juanita spoke directly to her audience, but her words carried far beyond the people watching. She reminded everyone that respect is the foundation of ministry, and that no matter how talented the younger generation may be, they should never forget the sacrifices of those who came before them. Her tone was firm, almost like a parent correcting a child, and she made it clear that she would not tolerate. Without mentioning Jonathan's name at first, her message still felt pointed. She talked about how some young people are so eager to build their own stage that they forget who built the foundation. She stressed that the path they are walking today was created by the prayers, struggles, and dedication of the very people they are now overlooking. But what made her response even more powerful was the passion behind her words. Viewers could feel the emotion in her voice, the mixture of disappointment, authority, and experience. To her supporters, it was a reminder of why she is so respected. To others, though, it was clear that this was a direct clap back at Jonathan, whether she admitted it openly or not. The clip of her statement spread like wildfire across social media. Fans clipped sections of her livestream and shared them everywhere. Suddenly, the feud wasn't just whispers anymore, it was out in the open. Juanita had spoken, and the gospel world was listening. When Juanita's fiery words hit social media, Jonathan McReynolds could no longer remain silent. Known for his calm and soft-spoken nature, he chose a very different approach. Instead of clapping back with anger, Jonathan took to his own platform to explain himself. In a short but heartfelt message, he clarified that his comments were never meant to disrespect anyone, especially someone as established and respected as Juanita Bynum. Jonathan reminded his fans that his words were only about encouraging space for new voices in gospel music. He said that his goal has always been to uplift, not to tear anyone down. He expressed deep appreciation for the older generation of gospel leaders, even calling them the shoulders on which we all stand. His response was humble and measured, but the damage had already been done. The problem was that fans weren't ready to let go of the drama. By the time Jonathan spoke, clips of Juanita's clap back had already gone viral, and people were locked into their positions. Some saw Jonathan's response as sincere, while others thought it was simply an attempt to clean up after being called out. Social media debates grew even louder, with comments flying back and forth between supporters of Juanita and defenders of Jonathan. Despite Jonathan's calm attempt to lower the temperature, the storm refused to die down. His words, though respectful, were drowned out by the noise of fans who were more interested in fueling the feud than in hearing the truth. And in the world of gospel, where every word carries weight, this back and forth was now too big to ignore. As soon as both sides had spoken, the real battle began, not between Juanita and Jonathan, but between their fans. Social media turned into a war zone. Comment sections on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube were overflowing with heated debates. Hashtags started trending, with some fans declaring their loyalty to Juanita, while others defended Jonathan with equal passion. Those who supported Juanita argued that she had every right to speak up. They reminded everyone of her decades of ministry, her struggles, and the sacrifices she made for the gospel. To them, Jonathan's comments, whether intentional or not, were a sign of how the younger generation sometimes forgets the respect owed to their elders. One supporter even wrote, "Without Juanita, there wouldn't even be a stage for Jonathan to sing on today." But Jonathan's fans saw things differently. They praised him for staying humble and not allowing himself to be dragged into a shouting match. To them, Juanita's response felt too harsh for someone who hadn't even mentioned her name directly. They argued that Jonathan represented growth, modern expression, and a more relatable form of gospel that the younger crowd desperately needed. Every hour, the divide grew wider. Memes, edited clips, and reaction videos flooded social media, each one adding fuel to the fire. It wasn't just about two people anymore. It had become a generational debate, a tug-of-war between tradition and modernity, between respect for the past and the desire for something new. For gospel fans, it was almost unthinkable to see two such beloved figures in conflict. And yet, the feud had become the biggest topic in the community, overshadowing everything else. What began as a single comment was now spiraling into something much bigger. After seeing the endless discussions and debates online, Juanita Bynum decided not to leave things half-said. This time, she mentioned Jonathan's name directly during one of her messages. Her words were sharp and unmistakable. She accused him of being ungrateful, of enjoying the platform built by those before him while still finding ways to criticize it. She reminded her audience that honor is not optional, it is commanded, and that true greatness begins with humility toward those who came before you. The clip spread instantly, leaving no doubt that this was no longer about speculation. For some, it was a shocking move, but for others, it was exactly what they expected from Juanita: straightforward, unapologetic, and willing to confront the issue head-on. Jonathan, though hurt by the direct mention, chose once again not to fight fire with fire. Instead, he posted a message on his social media, where he admitted that misunderstandings can happen, but he stood by his original words. He stressed that his heart was pure and his mission was only to inspire growth in the gospel community. His tone was peaceful, but there was a firmness beneath his words. He wasn't backing down either. This back and forth created an even deeper divide among fans. Churches, gospel forums, and online communities all started weighing in. Some leaders stepped in, urging peace, while others added fuel to the flame by choosing sides publicly. What had once been just gossip was now shaping into a cultural moment, a feud that symbolized something far greater than just two individuals. As the feud continued to capture attention, many people began to realize that this wasn't just about Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds. Their disagreement had become a mirror, reflecting something much deeper within the gospel community itself. For years, there had been quiet tension between traditional gospel and the new wave of contemporary artists. The older generation, with their powerful sermons, classic songs, and long history of sacrifice, often felt overlooked in a time when music was shifting toward softer, more modern styles. Meanwhile, the younger generation felt the weight of expectations, often criticized for not doing things the old way. What Jonathan and Juanita were going through was really a public example of this clash. Many fans and church leaders started asking hard questions. How do we honor the past while still embracing the future? How do we give space to young artists without making the elders feel pushed aside? And most importantly, why does it so often take conflict for these conversations to come to light? The feud had opened a door. It wasn't just gossip anymore. It had started a dialogue about respect, growth, and the future of gospel music. Some people saw this as painful but necessary, a wake-up call that the community needed. Others worried that the division was too deep and that it could harm the unity gospel music had always tried to represent. In many ways, Juanita and Jonathan had become symbols. She represented the roots, the unshakable foundation, while he represented the branches reaching out towards something new. And the world was now watching closely to see if those roots and branches could work together, or if the tree itself would split. As of now, the feud between Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds remains unsettled. Both of them have spoken their truth, both have defended their positions, and yet the tension still lingers in the air. Neither side has openly apologized, nor have they sat down together to resolve things in front of their fans. Juanita continues to stand firm in her belief that the younger generation must never forget the foundation laid by those before them. Her followers see her as a guardian of respect and tradition, and they continue to cheer her on for not holding back. Jonathan, on the other hand, has chosen to move forward with grace, focusing on his music and message. while making it clear that his comments came from a place of love, not disrespect. His supporters admire him for not letting the negativity change his calm and humble spirit. The gospel community, however, is still divided. Online discussions remain active, with fans dissecting every word, every post, and every performance from both artists. Some believe reconciliation is only a matter of time, while others think the rift may never truly be repaired. For now, the situation feels like it's at a standstill. Both Juanita and Jonathan seem determined to hold their ground, and yet everyone knows that the next move, whether it's a word, a post, or even silence, could shift the story once again. The feud between Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds has shown just how fragile the balance in the gospel community can be. What started as a simple comment has now become a moment that exposed deeper issues of respect, tradition, and change. Both of them are powerful in their own right, and both carry followers who believe in them with passion. But the question that still hangs in the air is, where does this story go from here? Will Juanita and Jonathan find a way to sit down, clear the air, and show the world that unity is greater than pride? Or will the divide continue to grow, pushing fans further apart and creating lasting tension in the gospel world? Right now, no one knows for sure. What is clear, however, is that this feud has left a mark. It has sparked conversations that were long overdue and forced people to face uncomfortable truths about generational gaps in the church. The eyes of the gospel community will stay fixed on these two voices, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. For now, all we can do is watch, listen, and ask ourselves, will respect and harmony win in the end? Or has this feud already changed gospel music forever? The gospel world has always been built on a foundation of love, respect, and unity. But the feud between Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds has reminded everyone that even in the most spiritual spaces, conflict can break out and leave deep scars. What seemed like a passing remark turned into a battle that no one expected. And now, both artists stand on opposite sides, holding firm to their beliefs while the world watches in suspense. For Juanita Bynum, this was never just about Jonathan. It was about the principle of honor. To her, when the younger generation forgets the price that was paid by those who came before them, the foundation of gospel itself is at risk. She represents strength, history, and authority. Her voice is not just her own. It echoes the voices of countless leaders who gave their lives and energy to spread the message long before today's platforms even existed. For Jonathan McReynolds, this feud became about standing in truth without losing humility. He didn't respond with fire or anger, but with grace, because he knew his audience was watching closely. Jonathan symbolizes the future, the next chapter of gospel, and his message resonates with young believers who need a language of faith they can understand in today's world. His calmness in the storm has made many admire him even more, but it has also made others question whether he should have been more forceful in defending himself. Now, the entire gospel community finds itself divided. On one side are those who stand with tradition, demanding honor and respect. On the other side are those who embrace change, wanting gospel to grow with the times. And in the middle are millions of fans, waiting anxiously for what will happen next. Will there be reconciliation? Will there be forgiveness? Or will the silence between these two grow louder than their words ever could? The truth is, nobody knows. Both Juanita and Jonathan are strong in their own ways, and neither seems willing to compromise just yet. But one thing is certain, this moment has already changed gospel music forever. It has forced uncomfortable conversations, exposed hidden tensions, and reminded everyone that even spiritual leaders are human too. The world now waits for the next move. A single post, a single song, or a single word from either Juanita or Jonathan could completely change the direction of this story. Will unity rise above pride? Or will this feud leave a lasting scar that gospel music may never forget? Only time will tell. At this very moment, The tension between Juanita Bynum and Jonathan McReynolds remains unresolved. Neither side has fully backed down, and neither has taken a step toward reconciliation in public. Both continue to carry themselves with confidence, but the silence between them speaks louder than words. Juanita Bynum still uses her platform to emphasize the importance of honor, respect, and tradition. In her recent messages, even though she doesn't always call Jonathan's name directly, her tone shows that she stands firm in what she believes. To her followers, this is not bitterness, it is correction. They see her as a spiritual mother who is not afraid to discipline when she feels the younger generation has crossed a line. For them, Juanita's strength is a reminder of why she has remained relevant and respected for decades. Jonathan McReynolds, on the other hand, continues to move forward with his music and ministry. He avoids direct confrontation but doesn't shy away from expressing his heart in subtle ways. Through interviews, lyrics, and heartfelt posts, Jonathan makes it clear that his desire is to build, not break down. His calmness, humility, and refusal to escalate the feud further have earned him admiration from many young fans who see him as a role model for handling criticism with grace. Still, there are some who think his silence and soft responses make him look weak against Juanita's boldness. Meanwhile, the gospel community remains divided. In churches, small groups, and online discussions, the feud is still a hot topic. Some pastors and leaders have openly taken sides, while others urge for peace and unity. On social media, fans continue to share old clips, dissect new ones, and create endless conversations about who is right and who is wrong. The situation has become bigger than just two people. It has become a movement of opinions, drawing attention from people inside and outside the gospel world. As things stand now, the story feels unfinished. Every sermon Juanita preaches and every song Jonathan releases is being analyzed for hidden messages. Both artists know that the world is watching closely and that any small action,